So I want to explain the Yesod. The Yesod is called early activation. The way that Hashem created the world, if you're an 8-year-old boy, a 10-year-old boy, and you see a not sneistic woman, it doesn't do anything to you. It's amazing. I went on a Chalamite trip, me, my 18-year-old, my 15-year-old, my 10-year-old. Somebody not sneeze walked by. It's an assign for me. It's an assign for an 18-year-old, an assign for a 15-year-old, to a 10-year-old, like a piece of chicken. You know, nothing. There's no taiva. There's no. It's amazing the way Hashem made it. It's meaningless to you. It doesn't mean anything. Maybe you want to throw a frog at her. That's about it, right? And a few years later, all of a sudden, you want different things. And it's a natural process that each person separately goes through, where he starts to realize, and he starts to have feelings, and then he finds a way to figure out how things are done in a calm way, in a natural way. In the olden days, they would look at maybe an encyclopedia. Somehow, everybody finds out what's going on in a natural way, because that's the way the brains are. And the brain starts to look for some information, starts to get some information, and it can handle what it gets. But when you go to somebody who's not ready for information, and you give it this tremendous information, it destroys their brain. It's like going into the brain and turning on a switch that was supposed to be off. And now they're involved, not just in thought, but they're involved in a relationship where someone's touching them and needs something from them. Their body has value. Their body has value, which they don't know how to deal with. There's a person giving them attention, smiling at them, grooming them for more, giving them attention that they're not supposed to ever have until they're married. Maybe a goyish woman, is going to get older, and people are going to look at her, and she's very pretty, and she even then they have to deal with that new thing that now I'm a woman, and I have somebody who is interested in me. It's a whole thing. But a young girl or a young boy, they don't know how to deal with that. So they get pulled into a world, and they get activated into a world that they're in. That is the abuse. That's the abuse. That all of a sudden now, I have taiva, I'm turned on as if I'm an adult, but I'm a kid. Now, when you're turned on as a child, so there's no boundaries. When you develop sexual feelings when you're 15, 16, like Reb Shimon said, at the same time that a boy develops attraction to a girl, he develops a not attraction to a boy. Or certainly it's not developed to the boy. But when he's brought into this world as a child, then he's attracted to children. A child is not a non-attractive being. A healthy person looks at a 6-year-old and doesn't feel an attraction to them. A person who's brought into the world of sexuality under puberty, those walls aren't there. So to them, a 16-year-old is attractive and a 6-year-old is attractive. A girl is attractive and a boy is attractive. Listen to the tiefkeit of what's going on over here. So now imagine me as a teenage boy, 15, 16 years old, and imagine my parents told me we have very bad news, which would be very good news, right? The school closed down. The only school we have is a girls' school. And I would be put into a class of girls, right? Very bad news, which to me, I would think is very good news. It could be very good news for me, but I would not learn anything that year. How could you learn? I'm totally distracted. I would be distracted. I'm in a room full of girls. A healthy boy who's in a room full of girls can't think about anything else. And we all understand that. And then when the girl comes over to me and says, on Shabbos, can I come over and maybe we'll do homework? What am I thinking? I'm not thinking about homework. So when the boy who is attracted to boys is in a class of boys, and a boy comes over to him and says, Shabbos, maybe I'll come over and I'll do homework, he's thinking, maybe we'll get physical. Every boy and man and woman and girl that says anything that's normal and innocent, their heart starts to race because they think something's going to happen. Either they're scared or they're excited. Either way, it's very bad. I learned this from the kids who told this to me. They said, I always thought that everybody's hitting on me. Anytime a guy came over to me, one of my father's friends came, put his arm around me, I thought, oh, he wants something from me. Every time someone said, oh, come over tonight and we'll schmooze about it, I thought he wanted something from me. When they moved into Home Sweet Home, and there's a guy, Avi, who opened up a home for kids that he doesn't know to help, come on. Well, he must want something from us. He doesn't want anything from us? Oh, just wait. You know how long it took for me to build trust? Because everybody abused them. And once you're abused, they get abused again and again and again and again. Because the abusers always find them. And they're always vulnerable to it. And a part of them hates it, and a part of them needs it. Just like every person who does Averis, a part of you hates it, but a part of you needs it. Right? Why do you keep doing Averis? Because it's in your being to have taiva, but you're really disgusted from it. It's the same thing to these kids, and when they get older, it's part of their being is that they're attracted to young boys and girls. Young and old doesn't matter. Those walls were never created within normal taiva, and opposite gender. So it's a part of who they are. So then the kid has 5, 6 siblings under him, and he's in bed, and next door is a 3-year-old or 5-year-old or 7-year-old brother and sister. It's as if you're a healthy male and you're upstairs and next door is a teenage girl staying over for whatever reason, and another teenage girl, and maybe you go out to the bathroom and maybe they're passing you in the hallway. Everybody understands, every healthy adult understands that you can't think like, you can't behave, it's normal taiva. Normal taiva, but all the time. So eventually they end up touching some of the younger kids because they put them to sleep at night or they're sitting on their lap, and they now are aroused as if they are an adult and this person is the opposite gender. Isn't it unbelievable? That's why they can end up doing the worst possible things to multiple people, and there's nothing wrong with them. I call this little cars. Imagine that a car has a little car, and he's driving on the highway 55 miles an hour, minding his own business. A truck comes in the middle lane next to him, 95 miles an hour truck, and swerves and hits him right in the corner of his car. The car starts to fly out of control. Spinning, out of control. By the time it's over 5 minutes later and the car stopped, he killed 20 people. He flew on the side, he killed 2 bikers. And then he flew on the other side of the traffic and people swerved and they were killed. He ended up killing 20 people. This little car. He's a murderer. But all of this is because he was out of control. When a child is brought into the sugya of sexuality, they are out of control. They have no way to stop themselves any more than an adult could stop themselves if they were put in a similar situation. Take an adult and put them in a house living with a bunch of teenagers or a bunch of adults of the opposite gender that they're living together comfortably. They share the bathroom. They have that level of comfort. It's not shaykh for something not to go wrong. It's not even normal. It's not even healthy. A healthy person wouldn't be able to not sin under that situation that you share. You go on the bus together, you go Chalamite trips together, come sit on my lap, we'll go here, we'll go there, we'll go upstairs, we'll go to sleep, we'll say Shema, we'll take a bath, we'll take a shower. In that situation, living with people who are not related to you and above, right? Which boy would be able to not think about it and not act on it if it was possible? It's not shaykh. And over here, they can't go to the adults because the adults are going to say something. But these kids, they put them to sleep at night, they give them a massage, they end up touching them. A lot of bad things happen, and there's nothing wrong with them. So now what happens is, because they were brought into the sugya, many of them not only are victims, but they also hurt other people. So you want to know why he doesn't admit it? Because how could he admit that he's the monster? That's the ones with the tremendous broken self-esteem, which is most of them, and it's not their fault. But they look at themselves, I'm a murderer. So not only I got murdered, I'm a murderer. And Reb Shimon taught us, and I realized the same thing. We used to go ahead when people said that they were molested. We would say the one who did this to you is a murderer, and he's going to burn in hell forever. And then we realized that a lot of the kids totally freaked out after that because we were burying them. Because if you understand early activation and you're living with this taiva for years, it's not like a 1 week you're going to go on a psachalamite trip and there's a pretty girl next door. This is years that you're living around boys, and then you're a counselor in camp and there's boys and there's boys, whatever it is, on the school bus, everywhere. And you were a normal kid and you never would have had this taiva for children, this taiva for same gender, never would have happened. But you were brought into this nebuch. Then how are they supposed to admit what happened to them when they are the monster themselves? And that's why we have to be very careful. So this is early activation. I want you to understand it, and I want you to understand why they don't admit it. And the last piece is I want you to understand why they can't admit it to you, because they're very smart. And all of their conclusions in their life is based on that Maisa that happened 10 years ago. And if they would believe that, that means that their whole brain and the way that they're thinking is broken. They can't admit that. Their whole binyan is created on a slant. Because then they go through school, they go through it in a fog, things that we care about, how could they care about it? They have so much bigger problems to care about. Like I said, if I was a teenage boy and a girl teaching in a high school with only girls in my class, I wouldn't remember anything. I would remember something was very important to this teacher, but I have much bigger important things. Bilbul Adas, confusion, hopes, dreams, ups, downs, all kinds of stuff is happening in here. All kinds. I'm definitely not interested in Sharshanaga Chasapara. That's not the negicha that I'm interested in. And that would be normal. That's why we don't have mixed classes by us, because we realize, what do you want? This guy is in a mixed class all the time, and especially Chassidish kids go to the mikveh. How are they supposed to deal with that? They're attracted, and they're young, and then they get older, and they're attracted to kids, because the walls were not created. So that's why all of their conclusions are wrong. I tried talking to very smart geniuses, and they couldn't. So you're telling me that all my conclusions are wrong? I'm telling you, I concluded that this is ridiculous, and that this doesn't make any sense, and these things aren't important about life. And you want me to unravel my brain to when I was 8 years old and to realize that everything that I sponged into me, that went into me, all my understanding about Hashem and Torah and everything was all skewed because of that, and I should undo my brain, my conclusions, to say that adults rabbis are not monsters and men are not monsters and all these things for the girls who were hurt by men. It's impossible to unravel your brain to realize that all these things that you built and you were learning and you concluded are all based on a trauma that makes you feel and conclude what victims feel like instead of healthy people. And to understand that our machne and our Klal Yisrael is beautiful for someone not hurt Nebuch, and yet it caused you so much pain, it's almost impossible. It's impossible for them to deal with. It could take decades for them to unravel that and to realize, no, this is because of what happened to me. So when I went to camp is not bad. Camp is scary to me, and camp was confusing, and I couldn't learn. And then I got punished for not learning, and I was confused, and I didn't. We have kids who are top in the class who don't remember anything. You say, how's that shaykh? A kid asked me in Home Sweet Home, which one comes first, Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur? He was from until he was 18. How could you not know? He asked me, which one is the 2 days? Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. I said, I think you would remember if you had to fast 2 days in a row. And he still didn't remember. Which is the one where you shake the thing? What do you mean? You grew up from. It's a fog. When you have this amount going on in your brain, everything is a fog and everything is unimportant. Because when you have this level of importance going on in your brain, taka, everything is unimportant. To you, it's very important that I put my tzitzis this way and I tie my shoes this way. And I'm trying to survive. And I have nobody to share this with. Because how can a kid share this with anybody? There are no words that can allow a child to express to mommy and tati what happened to them. More than that, what I'm going through. How is a kid 10, 11, 12, 14, 16, 18 supposed to tell you, I'm attracted to little boys? It'll never happen. I had boys in Home Sweet Home who they gained so much from the program. And I had other ones that were having a great time and gaining, but I saw I couldn't get to the Shayrish Neshama. Those were always the ones who hurt other kids. Because they felt, I learned this over time, if you knew what I did, you wouldn't be nice to me. You're nice to me even though I'm a Chal Shabbos and Eid on Yom Kippur. I don't know why, but somehow you're okay with that. But if I was a Reitzeach, you would never be nice to me. It took so much more work for me to dig down to be able to explain to them, little cars, you're a little car. You were a good kid. You were minding your own, you were in your lane, minding your own business. You were going 55 miles an hour. You were behaving. You just went to camp. You just went on a bus. That's all you did. You just went to shul. And somebody groomed you and pulled you in and gave you a lollipop. And they also don't know when the abuse starts. It doesn't go right away. A guy jumps on you. First, come to my office. Come to my thing. Come to play. And then it happens over time. It takes a long time to rebuild those kids. And you could tell from the over 500 kids which ones were molested and which ones unfortunately molested others, which they're not worse people, even though that's a strong statement to say, because it's like while they're falling down a flight of stairs, they kick somebody. It's little cars, but they feel like the worst people in the world. They feel like I have no right to exist. And if you knew what I did to your to my brothers and sisters, to your other kids, you would kill me. And they're partially right, unless you understand the sugya. How could you? And this is what we're living with a lot of families in TP. A lot of families in Klal Yisrael that we're living with this problem. And it's nobody's fault. It's not the parents' fault. It's not the kids' fault. It's nobody's fault. And it's only the molester's fault. And usually they also have a story. Nobody decides to go around molesting kids. That's a different sugya for a different time.